Fox with begging and pleading for the Deadpool movie to get made, and then within 24 hours we had a green light. We were making. We were starting. Yeah,
it was that quick.
It was that quick.
They once called him the lovable wisecracker, the charismatic prankster who seemed to shine in every interview. He and his actress wife looked like the ultimate Hollywood power couple, all smiles on red carpets, witty social media exchanges, and a seemingly endless stream of public adoration. But underneath that glossy exterior, rumors have been swirling that Ryan Reynolds isn't the easygoing, self-deprecating hero he plays on screen. New claims suggest he's far more controlling, perhaps even ruthless behind the scenes. And these aren't just faceless comments on the internet. Major studios, former co-stars, and even well-known directors have come forward, painting a picture of a man desperate to maintain his power and pristine image, no matter the cost. What if all those sarcastic quips were covering an ego that demands total control?
It was so undeniable, and it felt really good.
But also, you must have been quite pissed off that, you couldn't make that decision for yourself.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. We tried, but the fans got it made, so this is great.
If the stories are true, this perfect husband, funny guy, and quirky Hollywood star might be a mere performance, and one that's beginning to falter. Once you start pulling at the threads, the whole tapestry of his nice guy act starts to unravel, revealing a series of controversies that nobody saw coming. Buckle in, because by the time you're done hearing these revelations, you may never see Ryan Reynolds the same way again. For years, the public couldn't get enough of Ryan Reynolds' comedic style. On talk shows and social media, he perfected that blend of deadpan humor, wit, and playful self-mockery that made him a fan favorite. But it seems there's more to the story. Recently, Fox News, of all places, broke a bombshell allegation. Ryan threatened a personal makeup artist with a dire ultimatum if she didn't show up for a Deadpool 2 reshoot on his schedule. According to this insider source, the makeup artist was traveling abroad for another project.
That came along, and it was sort of like, play Deadpool in this movie, or we'll get someone else to. And I just said, I'll do it, but it's the wrong version. It was Deadpool wasn't correct in it. So
something that's not uncommon in the film industry. Rather than hire a replacement, which should have been easy in a city brimming with talented makeup pros, Ryan supposedly declared, "If you don't come back, you'll never work in Hollywood again." That's not exactly the friendly, easygoing persona we're used to seeing on late-night TV. The intimidation factor was so intense, Fox executives reportedly felt they had no choice but to comply. He was already the face of the Deadpool franchise, and he'd leveraged that power behind the scenes to gain considerable creative control. If these claims are accurate, it's a glimpse into a personality drastically different from the one we see in interviews. Petty, egotistical, and ready to snuff out someone else's career over what most people would consider a manageable snag. What was the real motive?
His mouth was sewn shut.
Yeah, he's called the Merc with the mouth, and they sewed his mouth shut. Yeah, no, not it.
Maybe it was about preserving continuity on film, or maybe, and this is the possibility that'll keep you up at night, it was never about continuity at all. It might have been about sending a message that no one crosses Ryan Reynolds. If that rumor alone was the whole story, it would be shocking enough, but it was only the beginning of a string of claims, each more incendiary than the last. But that was just the tip of the iceberg. If you like the original Deadpool, chances are you know Tim Miller played a crucial role in its success. He directed the movie, helped shape the overall vibe, and collaborated on the humor that so many fans loved. But when Deadpool 2 came around, Tim Miller was nowhere to be found. Officially, he left due to creative differences. Unofficially, insiders whispered that Reynolds had locked horns with Miller over key artistic choices. Everything from budget allocation to comedic tone. Reynolds wanted it his way, and if rumors are to be believed, he had no intention of budging. The friction reportedly escalated until Tim Miller walked away. In Hollywood, creative disputes happen all the time. That's not new. What raises eyebrows is the repeated pattern. Reynolds allegedly ended up pushing out people who tried to stand their ground.
Both of them.
Yes.
And also kind of acknowledge this long legacy of wish fulfillment, which is, for me personally, part of that wish fulfillment is that
A seasoned director who was essential to the first film's success didn't make it past the sequel. Ever notice how, after that split, Ryan's role in the marketing, interviews, and creative storyline became even more pronounced? Some insiders say Tim Miller's departure wasn't just about creative disagreements. It was about Ryan stepping in to exercise near total control, and it wasn't just directors feeling his wrath. Directors aren't the only ones who felt the pressure of Reynolds' reported need for control. Take TJ Miller, who played Weasel in the Deadpool movies. He's a comedian known for his outlandish humor and big personality, so you'd think he and Reynolds would get along splendidly. Two funny guys trading jokes on set, right?
At some point. But the signs are all there. I mean, it's all, the Deadpool 1, the first line of the movie is me talking about him. The last, most emotional part of the film at the end is me taking my mask off, and
Except TJ Miller has claimed that Ryan's comedic banter often took a different turn off camera. He described moments where Reynolds would make jokes that weren't so funny, more like thinly veiled insults, the kind that make you wonder if someone's truly joking or just lashing out with a smirk. That's a far cry from the fan theory that these two had a light-hearted, brotherly bond behind the scenes. Then there's Morena Baccarin, who played Reynolds' on-screen love interest in Deadpool. After the first film, her role was noticeably scaled back in the sequel, sparking fan complaints. Rumors abound that she had some kind of disagreement with Reynolds over the direction of her character, or perhaps over personal boundaries on set. Next thing you know, her presence in the promotional cycle practically vanished.
Properties that comes along that, you know, they're reticent to make, and they didn't want to make it. It was 11 years I was trying to get them to do a Deadpool movie, but they finally did. I think that it's sort of...
Co-stars aren't guaranteed equal screen time, but the swiftness of her diminished role was enough to raise eyebrows. And then there's the case of Jake Gyllenhaal, who once shared a highly publicized bromance with Reynolds. They did the usual Hollywood best bud circuit, playful interviews, social media jokes, joint appearances. But after they wrapped the sci-fi flick Life in 2017, that camaraderie cooled overnight. In a recent conversation, Jake downright shut down any mention of Ryan, refusing to speak a single word about him. People don't usually go from playful best friends to radio silence unless something major goes down. Industry whispers claim that private spats, competition, and clashing egos could have all contributed to their falling out, but these professional spats pale in comparison to what happened in his personal life.
It all works in its favor, you know, the anticipation of a Deadpool movie constantly being asked. I mean, that was kind of the worst torture over the years, was people always saying, are they gonna make a Deadpool movie? And then...
When Scarlett Johansson and Ryan Reynolds tied the knot, it looked like a match made in A-list heaven. Two gorgeous stars, both riding career highs, stepping out on glamorous red carpets. Behind that glamorous facade, however, there were already rumblings of tension. After the divorce, Scarlett gave an interview touching on an ex-partner's passive-aggressive jealousy and controlling streak, though she never mentioned him by name. Given the timing, fans put two and two together. The relationship ended, and the next thing you knew, Reynolds was on set with Blake Lively, forging what would soon become another Hollywood power couple. Before Scarlett, Ryan spent 3 years engaged to music superstar Alanis Morissette. Post-breakup, she released an album titled Flavors of Entanglement, widely interpreted to be about their split. If you read the lyrics, you'll spot references to an ex's jealousy and insecurity. Now, it's not uncommon for artists to draw from personal heartbreak.
WGA writer's strike, so we were in the middle of production, there was no writers, no anything. I mean, when I show every line I have in the movie, I just wrote myself, because it's in the script that we had, it just said, Wade Wilson shows up, talks really fast.
But the repeated mention of insecurity across multiple relationships starts to paint a consistent picture. Maybe it was always there, hidden behind the jokes. The timeline of Ryan's moves is eyebrow raising. He ended his marriage to Scarlett, then seemed to be dating Blake Lively almost immediately. That rapid transition spurred theories he'd been positioning Blake as an option well before the official split. If so, that's a strong hint of someone who needs to feel secure in the next big thing, whether that's a new film project or a new relationship, before letting go of the old. And that pattern could very well align with the stories we're hearing from film insiders. His fear of losing control might permeate every aspect of his life, yet the biggest bombshells were still to come.
This film, I was lucky enough I got to produce it, and I got to star in it, and I got to really sort of protect it. And I was so vigilant about the canon of Deadpool to make sure.
If you follow Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively on social media, you're probably familiar with their trademark style. Pretend jabs at each other's birthdays, comedic photo crops, silly anniversary shoutouts. The internet used to devour these posts. They seemed so cute and spontaneous. But did you notice how those public love notes and witty banter tended to coincide with bigger headlines, like rumors of tension or a fresh wave of negative press? Skeptics argue that the couple's curated social media presence acts as a distraction. Every time a a rumor surfaces about Ryan's controlling nature or any friction in their relationship, one of them posts another sarcastic, "Oh look, we're so normal and playful" update. Some fans have begun questioning whether they're doing it purely for laughs or to reinforce a particular narrative, that he's the comedic genius and she's the supportive partner who gets the joke. If you comb through interviews, they often circle back to praising each other's comedic timing or sense of humor, almost as if it's a storyline they're pushing, rather than a genuine glimpse into daily life. None of this is to say that a couple can't genuinely enjoy teasing each other in public, but it's worth noticing how frequently these cute couple moments overshadow stories about Ryan's alleged blow-ups. It's a neat PR trick. For every one person claiming he's a nightmare off camera, he and Blake produce a dozen Instagram moments that paint them as Hollywood's most adorable duo. When fans are charmed by the banter, it's harder to accept that behind the jokes, there could be a man threatening to end a makeup artist's career or throwing script pages at a co-star, but maintaining that illusion required more than just social media posts. Ryan's rumored controlling tendencies and behind-the-scenes hostility have not gone unnoticed by Hollywood insiders. If you follow film interviews, you might recall the time Quentin Tarantino made a dismissive remark about Ryan Reynolds' Netflix films, essentially saying he had no idea what they were. Tarantino rarely minces words, and the underlying subtext seemed to be that Reynolds' work lacked depth or impact, the kind of hidden jab that suggests Tarantino wants nothing to do with that brand of mainstream hype. Then there's Gerard Butler, who also brushed off questions about Ryan's big budget movies like Free Guy, saying he hadn't seen them and didn't really care to. It was a small comment, but enough to signal that some of Ryan's peers don't consider him a cinematic heavyweight. Chris Columbus, a legendary director, once slammed the idea of Reynolds remaking a stoner version of Home Alone, calling it insulting to the original. While Columbus's frustration might have been directed at Hollywood reboots in general, it also hinted that he found Ryan's comedic style crass and disrespectful to cherished classics. That's a stinging critique from someone who basically shaped the childhood memories of millions. And let's not forget the continuing drama swirling around Deadpool. Some of the biggest names associated with the series, from Tim Miller to TJ Miller, don't seem eager to talk about it in glowing terms anymore. There's a reason for that silence, and it's likely not a scheduling coincidence. Whenever an actor or director abruptly stops praising the franchise that skyrocketed to success, it's logical to suspect that behind-the-scenes tensions have pushed them away. All of this has led to a growing question that no one used to ask. At the core of these swirling rumors lies a single unsettling question. Is Ryan Reynolds simply misunderstood, or is this controlling, power-obsessed version the real him? There's no doubt he has comedic talent and star power. He turned Deadpool from a risky superhero adaptation into a pop culture juggernaut, and he's undeniably skilled at generating viral, shareable moments with his trademark wit. But for every charming anecdote, there's another story about meltdown-level tantrums, the firing of key collaborators, or the quiet erasure of anyone who challenges him. Whether these claims are all true or partly exaggerated, they've done something that would have seemed impossible a few years ago. They've shattered his once untouchable nice guy persona. The old narrative of a down-to-earth actor making it big after a string of flops has run headfirst into a new one, rife with allegations of intimidation, professional sabotage, and petty feuds. Fans are suddenly forced to question how much they really know about the star they've idolized. The industry is also taking notice. High-profile directors and actors have hesitated to openly sing his praises, and some go out of their way to avoid discussing him at all. Could it be that these two sides of Ryan Reynolds, the charismatic goofball and the alleged controlling tyrant, coexist in the same person, or have we been so dazzled by his comedic persona that we overlook the red flags? For now, the story remains tangled in rumor and behind closed doors confessions. But one thing's for certain, the perfect image Ryan Reynolds carefully crafted is under scrutiny like never before. Who is the real Ryan Reynolds? Is this just a rough patch in a high-pressure career, or a deeper indication of who he's always been? Only time, and possibly more revelations, will tell. As the Hollywood machine churns out new projects and celebrities try to protect their reputations, there's a reason we keep coming back to these controversies. They force us to question how quickly we accept a polished public image. Maybe we all wanted him to be that hilarious, unproblematic star so badly that we ignored every warning sign along the way. And if these shocking allegations carry even a kernel of truth, they raise the biggest question of all. How long can a star this big keep the real story hidden before everything finally comes crashing down? That's it for this expose, but the speculation is bound to continue. Thank you for sticking around until the very end. And don't forget, sometimes the brightest smiles can hide the most complicated stories. If you've got your own take on Ryan Reynolds, whether you still love him or feel betrayed by these rumors, join the conversation and let others know where you stand. This may be one of the biggest Hollywood unravelings in recent memory, and it shows no signs of slowing down anytime soon.